do you read about what's happening on the ground?
Where were you at the exact time of the attack?
If that is what you think of him, how do you sit across the table to try to stop the war?
And we're live in 5, 4, 3.
We are faced with the greatest threat to food security in generations. Supply chains turned upside down by conflict and COVID, population growth and climate change.
With every one of these problems being felt in the fields, I'm talking to farmers across 3 continents to find out if they can rise to the challenge. Join me, Amanda Little, for Follow the Food on BBC World News.
This is BBC News. I'm Laura Trevelyan, live in Washington with our continuing special coverage of the US midterm elections. Here are the top stories this hour. Republicans are likely to take control of the House of Representatives, according to the latest projections, but it hasn't been the wave they were hoping for. It's a dead heat in the race for the Senate, with 4 key races still to be called. Georgia may be heading for a runoff vote in December. Republicans have lost the key Senate seat of Pennsylvania to the Democrats. John Fetterman defeats the Donald Trump-backed candidate. It's been a good night for Republicans in Florida, where Governor Ron DeSantis is re-elected with an increased share of the vote, boosting his credentials as a presidential rival to Donald Trump.
We saw freedom in our very way of life in so many other jurisdictions in this country wither on the vine. Florida held the line.
US voters have also been casting their ballots on a range of issues. In Michigan, Vermont and California, voters amend their constitutions to protect abortion rights. Hello, I'm Laura Trevelyan. Welcome to our continuing special coverage of the US midterm elections. Voters here in America are waking up to find that control of Congress is still in the balance. The red wave that Republicans were hoping for was more of a red ripple. Republicans are on course to take control of the House of Representatives with a narrow majority, while control of the Senate is still too close to call. It could all come down to a runoff race in Georgia next month. President Biden's Democrats outperformed their polls, while former President Trump's influence on the Republican Party is coming into question this morning after his hand-picked candidates fared less well. Let's take a look at the big picture so far and the races we're still watching. Let's cross to my colleague, Lewis Vaughan-Jones. Lewis.
Laura, thanks so much. Yeah, we're going to take a look at some of the numbers, and it is close. Look at the Senate, 48 Democrat, 47 Republican, pretty close at the House as well. We'll come back to the House in a moment. Let's start, though, by looking at what's happening with the Senate. So at the moment, we know the Democrats, of course, control both houses. So the job of the Republicans is to get to 51. At the moment, they're on 47. And the main problem for the Republicans so far is the big story overnight was Pennsylvania. So Pennsylvania was a Republican seat coming into these elections. And look at that. The Democrats, 50%, Republican, 47%. So the Democrats take control. And John Fetterman there has already given his victory speech to his supporters. He defeated Dr. Oz, Mehmet Oz, the Trump-backed candidate. So the Republicans already on the back foot when it comes to the Senate. So that brings us up to date now. What are we looking at right now? What do the Republicans need to try and get over that 51? Nevada and Arizona. So let's take a look at Arizona. This is a seat that they will be targeting. And at the moment, you can see it's being called as a Democrat lead. So it's not being called yet, but Democrat 52%, Republican 46%. And look at that down there, 93% of the votes in. So it's a challenging picture so far for the Senate, for the Republicans. And when you hear us talking about things being close, well, this is what we mean. We're going to take us to Georgia now. And the numbers here are really close. Look at that, 49%, 49%, with 99% of the votes in. And in this race, there is a third party candidate as well, who's taking some of the votes away. And the Georgia special rules mean that if neither candidate get over 50%, they do it all again. It's a runoff, so we won't know the result until the first week of December or so. Herschel Walker is the Republican candidate backed by Donald Trump, former NFL star. We don't know whether he will do it for the Republicans yet. So that's the picture in the Senate. Let's now look at the House. Here, the magic number that the Republicans need to get over to take control is 218. They need an increase of about 5 seats or so. So we're not there yet. We don't know. 199 at the moment. But let's take a look at some of the good news for the Republicans. Let's go to Florida. This was a good night for the Republicans in Florida, and you can see what I mean here. Lots of red for the Republicans, as you'd expect. The blue areas are the Democrats. And by the way, when you look at these maps, you'll tend to see a trend. The blue areas around the big urban areas, the big cities, Democrat, rural areas, Republican red. But take a look at this. These are the crucial areas. These stripy bits, these are the seats that have been gained by the Republican. 3 here in Florida. So a really good night, edging them up to what they need to control the House. And one of the reasons, take a look at this. This could be potentially one of them. The governor race in Florida. And what a night. A thumping win, 59% there for Ron DeSantis versus 40%. Energized the voters, got them out, could well have helped across those other ballots as well. So that's the state of play at the moment. Certainly not a big wave of red that many were predicting before these elections. The House looks to many Republicans like they will take control, but we don't know yet. As for the Senate, way too close to call.
Lewis, thank you so much for that analysis, and we'll bring you all of the latest results and more analysis with our special guests. But
this was a win President Biden wanted. The hoodie-wearing Democrat triumphed over the TV celebrity Dr. Oz.
I'm proud of what we ran on. Protecting a woman's right to choose. What we ran on. Protecting a woman's right to choose. Raising our minimum wage. Fighting the union way of life.
The Democrats did well in other places.